All right, so here's your homework for lesson 3 for dividing fractions. So our problem says find the quotient. So remember, quotient means answer. And then it says draw a model to support your solution. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to solve it using our equation, using our process of copy, poof, reciprocate. So my first part is copy, so I have the first part here, so I just copy that down. Poof, remember poof is the second part, so that changes to multiplication. The third is reciprocate or reverse, so I'm going to flip those around. So 4 thirds. And now I multiply. 9 times 4 is 36. 4 times 3 is 12. And now I can simplify. If I divide 36 by 12, I would get 3. And if I divide 12 by 12, I would get 1. And then 3 over the 1 is the same as 3. So now I'm going to make my model, and since I already know this answer, I have something to make sure my model is correct. So my problem is 9/4 divided by 3/4. And remember, this first part always tells us how much I start with. So this tells me I'm going to start with 9/4. So I'm going to draw, it's going to do that again. So I'm going to draw 9/4. So remember, that means my denominator tells me how many pieces make a whole. So I need 4 pieces to make a whole. But I have to shade in 9 of them. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. But I don't have 9 yet. So that means I have to make another whole. So here's another whole. And again, that 4 tells me I break it up into 4 pieces for the denominator. So I have 4 pieces already, so here's 5 pieces shaded, 6 pieces, 7 pieces, 8 pieces, and I still have to make another because I only have 8 and I have to have 9. So here's my next hole, broken up into 4 because that's my denominator, and I shade in 9 total pieces. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So now I need to break it up into fourths. So let's check. Not fourths, into 3/4. Remember, this is how big my group sizes are. So I have 4/4 right here, so I need to take 3/4. So here is 3/4. So that is 1 3/4. Here is another 3/4. So remember, 3/4, I'm taking 1, 2, 3 pieces because I only want 3/4. And my last one is right here. I have 1, 2, 3. Perhaps I do. There we go. So here I have one group. Man, it's just not liking that at all. So let's change back to the black. So I have one group, 2 groups, the yellow, 3 groups. So how many groups of 3/4 do I have? I have 3, which matches my problem from over here. All right, let's try this one now. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use my equation. So I'll use my process of CPR. So I copy the first. So I just write the exact same down. I poof the second part. So that changes multiplication. And the third is the reciprocate, or I reverse them. So that will be 3 halves. So now I can multiply, and I get 21 over 6. And if I notice something, I can simplify this. I can divide by 3. So 21 divided by 3 is 7. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And if you've really been paying attention, you notice there's a 3 in the denominator and 3 in the numerator, which those would cancel out, which then my original problem would just be 7 times 1. And 1 times 2, which is that 7 halves. So if you recognize there's something in the numerator and denominator to begin with, you've already simplified it. And 7 halves, if I'm not sure, I do 7 divided by 2, since that's an improper, and I would get 3. And that 1 is my leftover, my remainder, over 2. So 7/3 divided by 2/3 is 3.5. So now let's look at our model. So I'm going to start. And let me rewrite our problem for us. 7/3 divided by 2/3. And so remember, this is what I start with. So I start with 7/3. So I have a whole. That denominator tells me how many pieces I break it up into. So 1, 2, 3, and I need to have 7 of them filled in. Here I only have 3, so I need to draw another whole. Again, broken up into thirds. 1, 2, and 3. And again, I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so I need to draw another whole, broken up into thirds. And I only have 7 pieces since that's my numerator. So now I'm breaking this up into groups of 2/3. So let's check what 2/3 would look like. So here is 3/3 right here, and I only want 2/3. I only want 2 parts out of 3. So that is one group. Here is another 2/3, 2 parts. Here's another one, 2 parts. So here I have 3 whole groups, but I still have this leftover guy right here. So what do I do with him? Well, what's nice is I have a leftover, so I have a 1 for my numerator. And let's see, if I look back at all of the other circles, how many pieces did I circle? I circled 2, so that means I would need 2 pieces. So I have 1 left over out of 2 pieces that I was circling. The nice thing is if I'm not sure with my model, I can use my CPR method to check. And look, they are the same. All right, that's it for your homework for tonight.